who's a Southern Californian from Anaheim. And he chased the change, and Greg Matthews strikes out a half a dozen. The Giants are gone in order, and at the end of 5 1/2, a 2-2 tie. The remarkable performance by Greg Matthews being rushed into the breach following the inability of Danny Cox to pitch.
I tell you, walking in the clubhouse, I said to Whitey, "You're going to have 9 guys?" And Red said, "Well, he'll come up with something," and he has.
Danny Cox should call Walt Terrell of Detroit. Terrell missed a big start because of his stiff neck and then came back and won.
So, I tell you, when Matthews does this, it just shows you got to roster, use your guys. He has been the big story.
Big story, but it hasn't been fully written. Let's find out about more. Two, bottom of the 6th inning. Tommy Herr, Dan Dreesen, and Willie McGee, and that's a strike. Tommy Herr twice hit fly balls to left field. However, the frustrating one for him was in the 4th inning when he came up with Ozzie Smith at third and nobody out and couldn't get him home. High drive into deep right field. Back goes Maldonado on the track at the wall. Got it. Tommy Herr, a long out to right field. Tommy had only 2 home runs in the regular year, and both of them hitting right-handed. And it's head-shaking time for Herr.
It looked like it had a chance. It was a fastball. He really turns on it, and he thought for a minute he had it, and so did a lot of people.
Maldonado almost running out of room right there. So 1 away. Dan Dreesen with the count, 1 ball and no strikes. That picked up the edge. 1 ball, 1 strike. Danny Dreesen at the beginning of the year certainly didn't figure to be here. He was without a ball club. Then he signed a contract with St. Louis June 9th, played 58 games at Louisville. He was promoted to the Cardinals on August 31st, 1 day before the deadline to qualify for postseason play. Fouled out of play. At the time when they brought him up, they thought he was a luxury, albeit an experienced one. He had played for the Expos and the Giants. And Dreesen, when Clark went down, was anything but a luxury. If you study the history books, you'll find out that Dan Dreesen was the first designated hitter for a National League team in a World Series. He hit better than .350 for the Reds when they swept the Yankees in '76. So he'd been around. And there is Jack Clark, understandably frustrated, annoyed, short-tempered, disgusted. Fate has dealt him another bad card. No pun intended. Every year, Clark, if it's not torn muscles in the rib cage and it was the bad thumb, now it's this year tearing the ankle, the tissue around the ankle.
And if there's one team he wants to play against and one park he wants to go back to, it would be the Giants and Candlestick.
And Whitey Herzog kind of shakes his head, rubs his chin, and says he might be ready for Game 6. Lined and slicing into left center. It hits the rug and goes to the wall. And Dreesen will be into second base with a double.
It appears that Russell may be starting to show some chinks. He walked 2 in the 5th inning. Herr hit the ball hard, and now the line drive. So we're having to get some activity going.
Watch Jack Clark. They also serve who only stand and wait and cheerlead. And watch the double up the alley. So with 1 out, Willie McGee, whose single got Ozzie Smith home in the 4th inning to tie it up. Now trying to get the Cardinals out in front for the first time tonight. A sinker hit into the hole. Uribe goes back to Thompson, who can't handle a low throw, and everybody's safe. But he saved the run on a ball headed for the hole to left field.
And he had Dreesen picked off. Dreesen thought the ball was through there. He did save the run. Now, he loses a little bit of balance here. Dreesen is way up the line. Thompson can't handle the short throw, and it was a tough play for him, so the Cardinals have something going.
It is a base hit for Willie McGee. And a fine effort by Jose Uribe, although they let Dreesen get away on that off-balance throw to Rob Thompson. So first and third, one out in the sixth, the 2-2 tie, and Terry Pendleton, who was grounded out and struck out, coming up, and the Giant bullpen will move around. Ball one. Two, one out. The infield back in double play depth, although the corners are up. Will Clark and Kevin Mitchell. Pendleton is grounded out and struck out. Willie McGee standing at first, Dreesen at third, and after Pendleton comes Curt Ford. And that's hit in the air down the left field line. Leonard coming. The ball's going to land for a base hit. Dreesen will score on a bloop single to left. 3-2 St. Louis.
It looks like Pendleton made up his mind. He wasn't going to pull that ball, hit with a double play. He went with him, and he bloops it into left field.
Down in the Giant bullpen, amidst the hysteria here at Busch Stadium and calmly loosening up, the right-hander is Kelly Downs and the left-hander Craig Lefferts. So the Giants led 1-0 and the Cardinals tied. The Giants led 2-1 and the Cardinals tie, and now the Cardinals lead 3-2. The big play, the stopper by Uribe, but the inability to get Dreesen, who was hung out to dry otherwise. Russell off the rubber.
And you got a guy in the batter's box who can do a lot of things, and he can really run, so the double play is going to be a tough thing for them to turn over here.
Curt Ford, a left-hand hitter. That's the only surprise that he's not a switch hitter. It would appear to be right out of the cookie cutter, like so many other Cardinals, but he is left-handed all the way. 1 ball, no strikes. Whitey Herzog has a lead to chew on, 3-2. And Roger Craig scowling a little bit. It is game one. Long way to go. In fact, that's the big difference nowadays. There's not that feeling of urgency in the first game. It's like the World Series. You know, it takes 4. Lined into right field. Charging is Maldonado. Base hit. Stopping at third is McGee, and the bases are loaded with 1 out.
Ford tomahawked that ball, and McGee looked like he was going to stop at third all the way. He did not break as soon as the ball was hit. A bit of a surprise. And watch McGee. Now he sees the ball hit, and he stops. The indecision right there caused him. And now he just stops there. He never did look at his coach. He made the decision himself all along.
I'm sure he felt that Maldonado, at least where he stood, Maldonado might have had a play. Nick Leyva, the third base coach, trying to shepherd McGee. And you can see he gave him one little gesture, come on, but McGee wasn't watching Leyva.
He's waving him
now,
in.
Leyva says, come on. By this time, it's too late because McGee's not looking at him.
He didn't look at him hardly at all. And if you're going to do that, you're going to have to make better decisions than what was just made.
4 consecutive hits, starting with Dreesen's double, the infield single by McGee, a bloop single to left by Pendleton, and a fly ball single to right by Ford.
That's not typical to get that many hits and not score a run.
Now here is Tony Pena with the bases loaded, 1 out. Pena has had 8 RBIs out of bases loaded spots this year. He's been very tough. Boy, and he wanted to get them all home with that swing. Rick Russell has not been hit that hard, but he's up to his hips in trouble.
Nick Leyva walked down and said, settle down, because Pena really chased a bad ball. It was way out in the strike zone.
Leyva whispering to Willie McGee. as he comes down the line from third. 3 runs, 8 hits for the Cardinals, 2 runs, 4 hits for the Giants. In the dirt, nice save by Brindley. 1-1. Russell in a jam is also due to bat fourth when the Giants hit in the 7th inning. McGee, Pendleton, and Ford. Got 3 rabbits out there. High pop foul off third. Kevin Mitchell is over there and makes the play. So Russell, a wily veteran, trying to get out of a tough spot, and gets Pena to foul out. Now the batter is the pitcher, Greg Matthews. So that was a very big out to get Pena.
That's the key, because he can really go after Matthews right now. Of course, he can't let up. Anytime you got somebody with a bat in their hand, they're going to be dangerous. But the key guy is Pena.
Matthews had 13 hits during the regular year, including 3 RBIs, and we do know he can bunt. But of course, there are 2 outs. He sacrificed twice tonight. Fouled away, 0-1.
Interesting thing that's happened with pitchers, and Don Robinson, of all people, brought it up when he goes up to hit, and he named Bobby Welch as another one who does it. They'll go up there looking for the breaking ball, knowing that most guys say, well, the pitcher can't hit the breaking ball, and they look for it.
0-1. Of course, let's face it, Don Robinson is a very good hitting pitcher. So is Bob Welch. So they would go up looking breaking ball, because that's what they're going to get once in a while.
Yeah, but I mean, the fact that they're thinking that way, and they're not taking anything for granted.
Right.
And that's why they are good hitters.
1-1. And that's fouled away. Don Robinson predicting that he would hit a home run against Lance McCullers before he went up, and said to Roger Craig, he's going to hang me a slider. And he went up and hit it out.
Well, right now, Matthews has not gotten a breaking ball from Russell yet. He's got 2 strikes on him.
It's 3-2 Cardinals, bottom of the 6th inning. And there's a little looper into center, and it was a breaking ball. And 2 runs will score. And it was a hanging breaking ball. You could have put your hat on it.
It's the one breaking ball they gave him, and it burned him.
Cardinal bench. It is 5-2 St. Louis here in the 6th inning. Let's take a look at that little breaking ball and the flare to center.
He just put it in play. He reached out, didn't try to jam it or drive it. Wanted to put it in play, and he did.
A maddening inning for the Giants. After all, an infield single by McGee, a bloop single by Pendleton, a bloop single by Ford, and a bloop single by Matthews. The only ball really hit was Greason's double. Sinker, 0-1.
And you've had 2 base running mistakes. Dreesen was hung out to dry. They couldn't get him. Willie McGee should have scored on a base hit. He didn't, and yet it's all erased.
5-2 Cardinals in the 6th. And Vince Coleman, the 8th man to come to the plate. Coleman is fly to center, single to center, and walk. Fouled away. Boy, you talk about a stone on a lake. That thing really skipped. So holding it first is Greg Matthews. Kurt Ford at second. The Cardinals, with a 3-run 6th, have taken a 5-2 lead. The Cardinals were tied with the New York Mets with the best home record in the National League. Fouled away. During the regular year, the Cardinals won 49 and lost 32 here. The Giants are only 2 games above 500 on AstroTurf during the regular year.
Speaking of home records, tomorrow we'll watch that Minnesota game. You talk about a team tough in their home ballpark when they play the Tigers.
0-2 the count. Minnesota won 56 games at home and lost 25. Dome, sweet dome. 1-2 the count of Vince Coleman. Coleman flied to center and singled. Whitey Herzog might have been slightly disappointed when Coleman was thrown out in the 3rd, but now he has seen his Cardinals erupt to take a 5-2 lead. Now back just did get a piece of it. When the Giants bat in the 7th as they try to come back, they'll have Will Clark, Bob Brenly, Jose Uribe, and then Roger Craig knows that Russell is due up 4th, and down by 3, he might very well hit for him. Giants have 3 right-hand hitters on the bench, Melvin, Spire, and Williams. Sinker hit down to Rob Thompson, and that's that. But that 3 runs on 5 hits, and there's the man of the moment, Greg Matthews, who knocked in a couple. We'll be back after these messages from your local station. The 1987 National League Championship Series is brought to you by your Toyota dealer. An all-new Dimension 88 Corolla. Who could ask for anything more? And by Pennzoil Motor Oil, the standard of protection since 1889. Five to 2 Cardinals, a much relieved Willie McGee, I would think.
I would think he's relieved, and I also think his coach, Nick Labia, there he shows the reaction. The coach, that's all he can do is sit there. He said, man, what can I do? I'm waving. I mean, my arm's about to come off. I may suffer a rotator cuff injury, and he's not even looking at me. And, of course, who do you tell that to?
There are times when the base runner doesn't look at the coach when the play's in front of him.
Right.
But when it is behind you, that's what the coach is out there for. And the Cardinals got away with it.
Twice, Dreesen was hung up, and then McGee, but it's all erased now.
Will Clark trying to lead the Giants back now against Greg Matthews, and that's a strike. Clark robbed of a hit on a fine play by Tom Herr, singled and stole a base in the 4th inning. 5-2 St. Louis, 7th inning. Big, slow curveball on the corner. Strike 2.
Boy, he's moving it in and out, changing speeds. He knows exactly what he wants to do.
The Giants beat Matthews twice this year. He was 0-2 against them. By the mound, down to Ozzie. 1 away. Down in the Cardinal bullpen, the ace in the bullpen, Todd Worrell, beginning to loosen up.
And there's the difference. If Worrell leaves his fastball back at the hotel, he's in deep trouble. Yeah. He's a real power pitcher.
Here's Bob Brenly. Struck out twice, 0 for 2. You could see them heave that big sigh. Well, you know it's a little more than just a regular game. Ball 1.
And the slow curveball, he started him out on a curveball but didn't get it in the strike zone. But Brenly has just not been able to figure him out.
Matthews with a half a dozen strikeouts. Ball 2, 2-0. Fly ball into very shallow center. Tommy Herr out and calling. So Brenly a pop fly. So that's 8 in a row. Retired by Matthews, who had a string of 9, gave up a home run, and was allowed just 2 singles since. Matthews, by the way, has made 32 starts during the regular year and completed only 2. And one of those 2 was a shutout. So you can bet they're counting pitches and watching him very, very carefully. Uribe, the hitter with 2 out, and Chris Spire is on deck. Remember, the Giants have 3 right-hand hitters available: Bob Melvin, Chris Spire, and Matt Williams. Left-hander Craig Lefferts throwing alone in the pen now for San Francisco. Off the end of the bat, 0-1. Uribe has struck out and singled. He's 1 for 2. Jose made a good play to backhand McGee's base hit, but then his off-balance throw gave the Giants a big break. 0-2.
Not only is he changing speeds, but he keeps nibbling at that outside corner, and he's making these giant hitters widen their zone. He's really not hitting the corner. That was off the plate, but not so far that you would take it. And Uribe chasing it, finds himself at the count of strike 2.
No balls and 2 strikes. Time. 5 runs, 9 hits, and an error for the Cardinals. 2 runs, 4 hits, and an error for the Giants. Chase that one. 7 strikeouts. Matthews has retired 9 in a row, and at the end of 6.5 innings, 5-2 St. Louis. Shine on me, Moon. Boy, we got a dandy looking down on this ball game. In the bottom of the 7th inning, with the Cardinals leading the Giants 5-2, Craig Lefferts comes out of the Giant bullpen to pitch to Ozzie Smith. He will turn all the switch hitters around now. They'll be hitting right-handed. Lefferts, who was born in Munich, West Germany, appeared in the 1984 LCS and the World Series for San Diego against Detroit, and he was brilliant. Working on Ozzie, who is grounded to short, tripled to right center, and grounded out. Ozzie also saved a big run back in the 5th inning with Uribe at 3rd and 2 out. Kevin Mitchell really killed the ball, and Ozzie stayed with it to get the last out, preventing Uribe from scoring. 2-1. Little foul off to the right, out of play.
And then kind of a footnote to that, it was McGee who cut that ball off that Uribe hit. Instead of an extra base hit, it was a single.
Right.
And then that was the 3rd out. They were not able to score. I say in most ballparks and most outfielders, that ball gets by.
2-2 the count, Ozzie Smith. Lefferts roll with the Giants. Basically, the left-handed setup man for Scott Geraltz, and then Don Robinson.
You just saw what happens a lot with catchers. Brenly thought that was the strike. He walked back and said something to Kibler. Kibler walked in front of the plate and answered him. Nobody knew it except if you'd ever been in that spot.
Look out here, 3-2 to Ozzie. Ball 4. He's the best Cardinal hitter on the team with the count 3-2. He hits over 400 in that spot. And this year, when the count goes to 3-2, that's the 25th walk that he's got. So Russell gave up 5 runs and 9 hits, walked a couple, and goes out losing. It's up to Lefferts now to keep the Cardinals quiet. When the Giants come up in the 8th inning, Lefferts' spot is due to lead off, then Thompson and Mitchell. And you saw earlier, Chris Spire was out to be a pinch hitter.
And you got 2 guys up that can do something.
Chopper off the glove of Lefferts, deflected to Thompson, over to Uribe, back to Clark, double play. Boy, you can see why they lead the major leagues in double plays. They just turned in a dandy. 1-4-6-3.
Uribe had something on that ball when he got it. It was deflected by Lefferts. You watch it now. Usually, when that happens, the timing is kind of messed up. But look at here, perfect, and Uribe very close to being off that bag. I have to see it again.
Dan Dreesen is the batter, and it was Dreesen who ignited the Cardinals in the 6th inning when he doubled up the alley in left center and scored the first of the 3 runs to put the Cardinals out in front. One ball and no strikes to count. Two 2-0.
Here's that double play again. Let's see if Uribe is on the bag. Whoops. He was in the neighborhood, but I tell you, if you call that, the umpire might as well turn around and wait for the bench. They'll be after him.
There's one hit down the right field line. Going over to get it is Maldonado, and Danny Dreesen into second base with his second double.
Ben, I get the feeling Dreesen doesn't like those bus rides in the minor leagues.
Is that something? What a story. A man without a ball club.
He just pulls it and pulls it hard. He had a tremendous game, the clincher against the Montreal Expos, and he comes here and comes up with his second double. And as you said, Ben, he got to start in the sixth.
So Danny Dreesen with 2 out doubles, and Willie McGee will be the batter. McGee flied to center, single to left to drive in a run, and then had the infield single on the ball that was flagged by Uribe, and it looked like they had Dreesen. And they let him get away on the off-balance throw in the dirt to Rob Thompson. Willie way out in front. Since Lefferts figures to come out for a hitter, he'll look to the Giant bullpen, and Scott Garrelts is loosening up.
Here's where I think that wrist bothers McGee, batting right-handed. It's the left wrist, and he kind of felt for that one.
In watching him swing now, you start to file that away, because if he's in there, it'll be against Dave Dravecky tomorrow, and he also has a bad thumb to go along with the wrapped left wrist.
He lets go of the bat on that last swing, so you know it's hurting him.
0-2. One ball, 2 strikes. During the regular year, McGee is so consistent. 284 left-handed, 288 right-handed. 11 home runs, 5 left, 6 right. But he's not quite that solid right now with that bad left wrist. 1-2. Fouled away off to the right, out of play, so it's still 1-2. In the inning, Smith walked. Kerr hit one up the middle, and the Giants turned it into a double play, and Dreesen has doubled. McGee trying to pick him up with Terry Pendleton on deck. Roger Craig knows coming to the 8th, he'll start with a hitter for Lefferts. And McGee drives it into right center. Davis one-hands it on the run. Fine play by Chile to take an extra base hit away from McGee, so they lead Dreesen. And at the end of 7, 5-2 St. Louis. We go to the 8th inning, 5-2 St. Louis. Chris Spire hitting for Craig Lefferts. And just a gentle reminder, tomorrow a big day. The National League Championship Series at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. John Tudor and Dave Dravecky. Game 2 between the Giants and the Cardinals. And then tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern on NBC, the Minnesota Twins and the Detroit Tigers. And it'll all begin with Major League Baseball, an inside look. Chris Spire, who received the Willie McCovey Award for the most inspirational player on the Giants this year, has come full circle. Foul ball. Spire was with the last Giant pennant-winning team in 1971. A 3-time All-Star. 37 years old.
Vin Matthews has made 94 pitches with those two, 67 strikes and 27 balls.
He has been remarkable. So Spire, Thompson, and Mitchell in that order in the 8th. 5-2 St. Louis. It was interesting for Spire. He had hit 1 grand slam in his previous 16 years in the majors. This year he hit 2 slams 5 days apart. One of them against the Cardinals. And then a couple of weeks later he had a 2-home run game for the 2nd time in his career. And a big year for Chris. And he has had some invaluable pinch hits. Popped it up on the right side. And it'll be Dan Dreesen. So Spire pops up, 1 down in the 8th. And what a story Greg Matthews is. Matthews, who didn't figure to pitch. Danny Cox with the stiff neck. Matthews rushed in as a replacement. And here he is in the 8th inning, not only leading 5-2, he sacrificed to set up 1 run and singled to drive in 2 others. 4-1.
And one of the intangibles, he has not used that bullpen. I mean, up and down. And Whitey making a decision to go with 8 pitchers, he really has gotten a bonus plus.
2 balls and no strikes. Rob Thompson, just trying to get aboard, reached on an error in the first inning and scored, struck out and grounded out since. And on that last pitch, suddenly, here comes Mike Rourke.
I almost have to believe that what they're saying, I don't start to get cute. Just do what you've been doing because it's been working.
That last pitch, kind of like a balloon, and the string broke. And boy, Rourke was catapulting out of the Cardinal dugout to make sure that everything was all right.
It's not unusual for a pitcher not to be just satisfied to get you out. He wants you to look bad while he's getting you out, and he'll throw some exotic pitch.
You know, he's done that too. A lot of his strikeouts, the hitters look foolish.
So don't change it. What do they say? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
98 pitches with 1 out in the 8th inning. He was the 10th round selection in the '84 free agent draft. Greg Inman Matthews from Harbor City, California, 25 years old. Strike. Went to high school at Savannah High in Anaheim, went to Santa Ana Junior College, Cal State Fullerton, and what a story he is this evening. 4-4. And that would be his first walk. Now, if that's a storm signal, yep, it is. Whitey Herzog is carrying a hook with him. 1 walk and you're gone.
Well, he went much longer than Whitey had a right to expect and thought he would do, and it goes back. You can't catch a walk, and listen to this ovation as he walks off.
Greg Matthews, who only had 2 complete games this year, one of them a shutout, got his club into the 8th, a magnificent performance, and he has reason to grin, and out he goes. So Greg Matthews goes out leading 5-2. Worrell is in, and we'll be back. That's not dejection. He has plenty to smile about as Greg Matthews gives the ball to Todd Worrell. Matthews had a reputation of being a flake, kind of a guy who'd send his laundry out on a road trip and then move on home, park his car in the parking lot here, and then ask a teammate to give him a lift home. But boy, he can be as flaky as he wants pitching like that.
When you pitch like that, you're not flaky, you're eccentric.
Yes.
Yes. And what a contrast with Worrell coming in, who is strictly a power pitcher, fastball in the 90s, as opposed to what they've been looking at with Matthews.
Worrell with 33 saves, going head-to-head with Kevin Mitchell, who is 1 for 3. 1-2. Mitchell battling Todd Worrell. The difference, Worrell has made 2 pitches to Mitchell. One was 97 and the other is 96.
And I think with the wind of Matthews back, 87 was the highest.
Off the bag at first, Rob Thompson. High fly ball to right field. Curt Ford is there. 2 down in the 8th inning. And the batter will be Jeffrey Leonard. With a right-hander on the mound, if Roger Craig decides to go to his bench, he has such left-hand hitters as Mike Aldrete, Harry Spillman, and Eddie Milner. But if he comes up with a left-hand hitter, all he has to do is look down in the bullpen, and Ken Daly is down there to try and check Craig's maneuvering. Against Philadelphia recently, when Ken Daly was pitching in relief, Worrell went into right field. Daly got his man, and then they brought Worrell back in, and he finished off the game. And Herzog, in a bind for pitching, could very well do something like that tonight. That's what Daly said. He said, you know how I'm going? He said, I was relieved by the right fielder. But of course, the right fielder was Todd Worrell. 2-0 the count at Jeffrey Leonard. Flied to center, homered to center, flied to right. Foul back. 2-1.
He's just rearing back and throwing.
First 2 years in the big leagues, Todd Worrell, 30-plus saves in each year. He's the only Cardinal pitcher to ever record back-to-back 30-save seasons. When you realize he got 1 save in the first 29 games of the year and winds up with 33, he really came with a rush. Thompson at first, 2 down in the 8th, 5-2 St. Louis. Fouled away. John Tudor and Dave Dravecky tomorrow at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. But after that, it's questionable as to just who will pitch Friday at Candlestick. Can Danny Cox come back? It will be Atlee Hammaker for San Francisco.
Whitey's looking at Friday for Danny Cox, the earliest.
2-2. And he rolled it into right field. You talk about fighting off a good pitch. And Rob Thompson goes to third.
The tip-off on that was that Pena called fastball, and Worrell shook him off only because it was the location. He stayed with the fastball, got it inside, made a good pitch, and Leonard just swung late, hit it on the handle, and with Thompson staying on first base, there was a big gap there. I mean, he just fought that thing off, fisted it in the right field.
So now Candy Maldonado coming up, representing the tying run. And Candy, with 20 home runs and 85 RBIs during the regular year, is 0 for 3 tonight. Grounded to third, fly to center, and popped up.
It'll be strength against strength here.
2 out in the 8th inning, 5-2 St. Louis. At third base, Robbie Thompson and Jeff Leonard over at first. After Maldonado, Chili Davis. Foul back. 0-1. There's Chili Davis waiting on deck. Don Robinson gets up and begins to loosen up in the Giant bullpen. Ken Daly has stopped throwing in the Cardinal pen. Throw to first, not in time.
It's always a good play. It cuts down the lead. You may get a chance to get him at third, but it also makes your ball club look good. It's not a set play. It's just a play that if he gets it and sees Dreesen's ready, he'll fire it.
And Greg Matthews, of course, knowing that one swing here and all of his good work could go down the drain. A drive into left center field, racing over is Coleman and McGee, and this one is up the alley, bouncing, and the fan catches it, which takes away a run. Jeff Leonard will be sent back to third on a ground rule double, and that's a tough break indeed for San Francisco. Leonard scores without a play, except the ball kangarooed up above that 10-foot high wall.
It's one of those rules that really penalizes the wrong people now, but the fan, when it bounces, grabs it, and I think he throws it back on the field, man.
It seems as if they have somewhat of a wire basket around the wall to try and prevent fans from interfering with the ball. It came very close to being touched on a triple by Ozzie Smith in the 4th inning, and now it becomes a monumental play. Watch the fan out there and watch the ball bounce now. Up, and they reach out and definitely touched it, even though the basket is there.
Oh, he was disgusted. Look at that. He threw it back. He did throw it back. He was really disgusted. But I bet the Giants are more disgusted with him.
Second and third, here's Chili Davis. It's 5-3 instead of 5-4. In other words, the tying run would be at second base. with 2 out. But now you have Leonard at third and Maldonado at second. Cardinals 5, Giants 3 in the 8th. Chili Davis 0 for 3, struck out twice and grounded out. Those 3 at-bats, he was batting right-handed against left-handed Greg Matthews. 1-1. On deck, Will Clark. So a big at-bat for Chili Davis. Nice save by Pena. That could have gone to the backstop. So Leonard can't find a way to get home yet.
Easily gone to the backstop because Pena was actually set up on the outside part of the plate. And when you're going to miss, you better miss outside where your catcher is. Now look where he's set up. And I mean, he gets it way inside. That is really bad pitching. Good play by Pena.
So Pena saves a run. The fan saved a run. And the Cardinals are still leading 5-3, and Matthews is hoping somebody will save him. He's not responsible for a loss, but a win could go out the window. Fouled away. So deuces wild to Chili Davis. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, 2 on, 1 in, and 2 runs separating the Cardinals and the Giants. And that was a 97-mile-an-hour hummer.
I was going to say, they've been 97, 96, 97, 96.6 or whatever. They all look the same after a while, Ben. You see what Matthews did, but Worrell is just rearing back and pumping.
Ball 3. So Worrell now is 1 pitch away from loading him up for Will Clark. And Matthews can just sit alongside Jack Clark and do what Jack has been doing. Wait. And that's ball 4 to load him up. That's enough to make Worrell eat his glove, and it's enough to break Greg Matthews' heart. He thought maybe, no. The inning's a long way from being over. Well, Ken Daly is throwing in the bullpen. Will Clark is going to be the hitter. So he's taking out his ace right-hander for his ace left-hander. With the bases loaded, 2 out in the 8th, 5-3 St. Louis.
Really, Norton, you think you've never had...
Greg Matthews, there is just so much of this you can take. So Matthews still goes out where he can win. But now Ken Daly picks up for Todd Worrell, who could lose. And in this battle with the game on the line between Daly, he had the bionic arm. He had the same operation that Tommy John had. Daly will go against Will Clark. And Will Clark, the Giant first baseman, hit .320 against left-hand pitching this year. So, I mean, we're in the high-rent district now. Will Clark, Ken Daly, and the game on the line.
They're playing him pretty much straight away, although he's got a big gap in left center field. And if he holds to what he said he would do against left-handers, he'd try from the middle to the left field line.
Clark is 1 for 3. 0-1. Clark was robbed of a hit by Hurst, single grounded out, and Daly starts him with a rising fastball that was clocked at 92. Leonard at third, Maldonado at second, Davis at first, 2 out. A run taken away from the Giants as a fan went after a ball in play. 1-1. So instead of 5-4 St. Louis, it is 5-3, and Whitey's leading a charmed life, at least for the moment. And Rogers wondering when his luck's going to turn. Bob Forsch begins to throw in the Cardinal bullpen. Ball 2, and you can hear the groans. Oh, you talk about pressure.
Yeah, and I tell you, it begins and ends really with the plate umpire, John Kibler. He has to umpire that ball, but he knows how important this game is. And he's getting a little heat from the bench right now.
Somebody's touched a nerve,
Yeah.
and the mask is off. Nick Leyva is hollering, standing alongside Whitey Herzog, and John doesn't like it one bit.
Tell you, they're right on the brink. Get a little louder, and somebody's going to get launched.
2-1, the count to Will Clark. The bases loaded, 2 out in the 8th, 1 run in, 5-3 St. Louis. And there's a high fly ball to right center. It's playable. Kurt Ford is there. He's got it. So the Giants are victimized in the 8th inning and wind up with 1. And at the end of 7.5, Cardinals 5, Giants 3. Record crowd, 55,331, the largest crowd to see any kind of event at Busch Stadium. And amongst the 55,000, this fan has had a great deal to do with the game. By interfering with that ball, it deprived the Giants of a run and has kept it a 2-run game instead of a 1-run game. There's one of the fellas who reached over and interfered with the ball in play. Right. You work all year with your pitchers and your infielders and your outfielders, and you try to cover everything, and then a fan sticks his finger in the pie. 1 ball, now 2. 2-1.
I never really could understand that rule, though, because it's the home park, and it punishes the visiting team.
Yeah, and how? Ball 3. They have a basket out there, a wire netting that runs the length of the top of the wall in left center to center to try and prevent a fan from leaning over and catching a ball. But as we have seen tonight, it did not prevent the fan from getting right out on with his hands over the netting. So 5-3 Cardinals, bottom of the 8th. Pendleton, Ford, and Pena, and Scott Garrelts, the 3rd Giant pitcher. Russell, Lefferts, and now Garrelts. Got him. Pendleton caught looking. It's the 2nd time he's gone down on strikes. The Cardinals, needless to say, do not see eye to eye with John Kibler's judgment. But the dugout would appear to be quiet for the moment. Boy, they were growling at him while Daly was pitching with the bases loaded. Kurt Ford flied to right, grounded to 3rd, single. It was his single to right field that confused Willie McGee and irritated Nick Leyva. Bad hop, and Clark stays with it and flips to Garrelts. You talk about big league reflexes. Wow.
Boy, I remember Frank Crosetti, the great Yankee coach, always saying, hey, anybody can feel the good hop. Show me the guy come up with the bad hop. You're going to see it right here. He saves a 2-base hit. Look at there. What reflexes.
And boy, that thing was ripped. So 2 down in the 8th inning. By the way, if you're not keeping score and you wonder about the Giants, Bob Brenly, Jose Uribe, and Garrelts spot. And since you have left-hander Daly on the mound, that would seem to neutralize Spillman, Milner, and Aldretti, and mean that Melvin and the rookie Williams are the right-hand hitters available. Now back. Pena has singled and scored, walked and fouled out. He fouled out in a tough spot in the 6th inning with the bases loaded, only to get off the hook when Matthews came up and hit the little breaking ball into center field for a base hit and a couple of RBIs. 0-2. Might have gone after a bad ball. He put a little angry on that swing. Down he goes, and at the end of 8, the Cardinals 5, the Giants 3. Telecast presented by authority of Major League Baseball may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. Danny Cox, who was supposed to pitch tonight and couldn't and gave way to Greg Matthews, who's been the big story of the night. The question now is whether Cox will be available to pitch for the Cardinals Friday night at Candlestick. We do know John Tudor goes tomorrow against Dave Dravecky. And we also know that Ken Daly will open up the ninth inning against Bob Brenly and Jose Uribe. And he's backed up in the Cardinal bullpen by right-hander Bob Forsch and left-hander Ricky Horton. 5-3 St. Louis in the ninth. Been a tough night for Brenly. It started out promising when he threw out Vince Coleman trying to steal. But with the bat, Brenly has struck out twice and flied out. Strike.
He's been behind the pitcher all night long. The pitchers have been getting ahead of him and making Brenly hit their pitch.
No balls, one strike. High foul off to the right and out of play, and the count 0-2. Full day tomorrow, remember. The National League at 3 p.m. Eastern. And Minnesota and Detroit in the American League tomorrow night. That would be 8 p.m. Eastern. 0-2 the count to Bob Brenly. Got him for the third time tonight. So Bob Brenly is caught looking one away in the ninth inning. And that look tells it all. As slowly but surely we run out, we would like to thank a lot of folks. Executive producer of NBC Sports, Michael Weissman. The coordinating producer and director of tonight's game, Harry Coyle. Bob Brenly doesn't feel like thanking anybody. The producer of tonight's game, John J. Filippelli. The pregame producer, Steve Dance, and the pregame director, Richard Klein. And a reminder to stay tuned for local news at the conclusion of the ball game, and that's up the middle. So Uribe keeps the door open with a single to center, and Bob Melvin will come up and bat. They've already used Spire, so now Melvin.
And see how important that interference call is now. Not interference, but that ground rule double with the fan. 5-3 ball game. Tell you a difference if it's a one-runner.
Oh, it's a killer. And of course, to take a point off the scoreboard is always bad news in any sport. Leonard walks in on the double by Maldonado, but is sent back and never scores. So it's 5-3 Cardinals in the ninth, one out. And here is Melvin. Strike. Melvin 1 for 8 as a pinch hitter, but hitting less than 200 for the year. And on deck, the leadoff man, Rob Thompson. 1 ball, 1 strike.
They really don't expect, as we look at Roger Craig, Melvin to pull Daly. McGee is really in right center field. There's a big gap in left center field. That tells you what they think of Daly's stuff.
Ground ball hard to short. Ozzie Smith to Tommy Hurt to Dreesen, dug it out. Who appeared so downcast over the loss of their starting pitcher, over the loss of Jack Clark. And the Giants, who had to come in here feeling confident, and it is the Cardinals, 5 runs, 10 hits, and 1 error. And the Giants, 3 runs, 7 hits, and 1 error. And somewhere in left center field, there is a fan who had a great deal to do with the outcome of the ball game. Tonight's NBC Miller Lite player of the game has to be pitcher Greg Matthews. Miller Lite happy to present a check for $1,000 in the name of Greg Matthews to the National Multiple Sclerosis Society. And what a lift he gave the Cardinals.
Yes, he did. And give Whitey Herzog some credit. As Brett Shandine said, he'll come up with something, and he certainly did.
And by Rockets' red glare, the Cardinals beat the Giants 5-3, and we'll be back to Busch Stadium in St. Louis after this. Championship Series, Greg Matthews the winner, Rick Rushell the loser. The game-winning RBI given to Terry Pendleton, and a save given to left-hander Ken Daly. As the Giants led a couple of times, each time the Cardinals came back to tie, and then the 3 runs in the 6th inning broke it open and gave the Cardinals the win. The 1987 National League Championship Series has been brought to you by Miller Genuine Draft, cold-filtered draft beer.
He's really got Clark breaking back so far, I'll tell you.
Clark is not a good base runner, even though he had a stolen base last night because Ozzie Smith kind of backed off as if he might be spiked. He has stolen 5 bases and was caught 17 times. There he goes, and it's a hit-and-run fly ball.
Whoa.
Vince Coleman puts it away.
Melvin had a tough time getting out of that box.
1 run, 2 hits, 1 left. Jeffrey Leonard hits a home run into the center field seats, and the Giants lead 3-0. John Tudor in the Cardinal bullpen. There's Ricky. Oh, 0-2 to Jeffrey Leonard. Little foul off first. Jim Lindeman coming over to the VIP box, and he can't get it. It's behind him.
And he ordinarily catches that ball, but they've got the auxiliary seats built there. And, of course, that fan is taking a little bit of a beating because they think Lindeman could have made that play, but the fan reached up. But the fan is entitled, once it gets over that railing, I mean, he's entitled to try to catch that ball.
John Tudor still has something left. That pitch was clocked at 86. So in what would appear to be his last inning, he can still sneak up that 86-mile-an-hour fastball. 2-2.
This pitch coming up here is the one I believe, Ben, that he's going to have to make sure he brings to the ballpark all the time. It's going to be something off speed because he has set him up with 2 fastballs. Oh.
No, it came inside with that fastball, and Leonard was guessing and broke his bat. So Tudor decides to make it an expensive at-bat for Leonard, and that was 86.
He's spotting that ball well, though. He's coming way inside where even if Leonard hits that ball, he's going to pull it foul. He's not going to hit that ball fair. I mean, it's not. It's right off the inside corners where it is. So you got to like this guy the way he pitches.
Oh, and how? John Tudor. Whitey Herzog has to like him. 8-1 since he suffered the broken leg. Tudor a mainstay for Whitey, especially in the bitter days of September. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Change, and it's looped into right field. So Leonard hit a home run to center field. In the 6th inning, he was jammed and fought it into right. Now he goes out after a changeup and just hits it over the net for a base hit.
That's a case of making a good pitch and a fellow getting a hit. He's going to fight it off, and he just went with it, and he loops it in there. Polite single, a nice polite single.
And here's Maldonado, single to left and then struck out twice. That off-speed pitch has been driving him a little dippy. Maldonado 2 for 7, and Leonard checking with Zimmer in the third base box. Down in the Cardinal bullpen, Ricky Horton has company. Right-hander Bob Forsch is up again. Oquendo, Pena, and then Tudor spot in the bottom of the 8th. And that one is hit into center for a base hit. McGee coming up to get it on the second hop. And Leonard holding, and a tag attempt by her allowed the ball to get away, but is backed up by Tudor. So back-to-back singles in the 8th inning, with nobody out, and Eddie Milner coming up.
Center fielder Eddie Milner.
Milner has been asked to sacrifice, or at least he has sacrificed once this year. very fast. He's grounded into only 2 double plays. So we'll see whether they want him to go the traditional route. You have another left-hand hitter on deck in Will Clark.
I would think he'd be bunting, Vin, and shorten up at first and third.
Yep, the Cardinals are looking for it. So Leonard at second, Maldonado at first. Nobody out in the 8th, 3-0 in favor of the Giants, trying to get a couple more. And he got the bunt down. Tudor's going to let Pendleton pick it up. And wow, what a close play. And a fine play by Tommy Herr. He had to take that thing just about off Eddie Milner's head going by. And leaning into the runner like that, he's wide open. Excellent play by Tommy Herr.
Good bunt by Milner. And Tudor knows it's going to be a tough play for him, because if he picks it up, he's running away from the play. And Pendleton with extra on it, but Herr, he really picks that thing off high and then like a bullfighter. Terry had to throw that ball hard.
Ole. So second and third and 1 out, and they're going to walk Will Clark intentionally. So for Tudor, he's really had some tough innings. He had to fight his way out of a jam in the 6th inning especially. He had troubles in the 5th inning, you remember, when the busted squeeze helped him out. And now he's going to be up to his hips in trouble in the 8th. So Bob Melvin will be the batter. If you looked on the Giant bench, in case they get to switching, you have Brenly, Spire, and Williams, the right-hand batters. Spillman and Aldretti, the left-hand hitters.
Catcher from Melvin.
And Melvin will come up and bat against Tudor. Those are the availables, and of course Milner's already in the game. So the base is loaded in the 8th with 1 out. Melvin has flied to right and to left, and then remember that he tried to kind of make him go after a bad ball and finally walked him intentionally in the 6th inning. Infield back in double play depth, although Pendleton comes up now about even with the bag. Melvin has hit into 7 double plays this year. 1-1. For John Tudor, trailing 3-0. Trying to hold on and keep the Giants close, and then hope his mates can get back in the game. Leonard, Maldonado, and Clark out on the line. High foul off first base, and that will carry out a play in the count 1-2. Same crowd as last night, but a much quieter crowd today because of Dave Dravecky. So Melvin strikes out. A half a dozen strikeouts for John Tudor.
He pulled a string on him, and he's way out in front. Just flicks it. Pena with that first baseman mitt behind the plate, able to hold on to it.
So each left-hander has chalked up 6 strikeouts. And Jose Uribe coming up again in a big spot. Remember, he came up with the bases loaded in the 6th. The count went to 3-0, then to 3-1. They let him swing, and he hit into a force play. Now in the 8th inning, he gets a second chance. Uribe is 1 for 3, a pop fly that should have been caught in the 5th inning and was allowed to drop. Ground ball to the hole. Ozzie has it, goes through his legs after going to his knee to make sure it wouldn't go through. And it is 5-0 in favor of the Giants. That's a rare play. They ought to put that thing in a time capsule.
It really is a rare play. He was going to make sure that ball didn't get by him, and I wonder if his concentration was such. Now watch him get down on his knees, which he rarely does, and it just goes right through the wicket. He got down on his knees but didn't get the glove down, and that is really man bites dog. Whoa.
So an error by Ozzie Smith, allowing 2 runs to come over. And it is 5-0 San Francisco. And Dravecky feeling very chipper about things now. As Uribe at first and Will Clark at third. 1 ball and no strikes. And here comes the runner to the plate, and the throw to Pena. Clark is out. So they tried to time it on the throw to first, and Will Clark is cut down 1-3-2, but the damage is done. 2 runs over in the 8th, and at the end of 7½, the Giants 5, the Cardinals nothing, as Clark comes up empty.
It took 2.
And a tap to the mound. This could be it. It's all over. The Tigers win it. The Tigers win it.
Congratulations, Tigers. Let's go for it all.
Take the Jeopardy Challenge to
4th, 1982, against the Giants. On July the 4th in 87, he's traded to the Giants and pitches maybe the biggest game of his life today to get the Giants even with the Cardinals. A great performance by Dave Dravecky. Dave, nice going.
Thank you very much, Vince.
In looking through the books, there were 2 things that jump at you. One, you didn't allow a hit since the 4th inning. And the other, the only time you had troubles, it would appear, was with the leadoff man. You walked the leadoff man 4 times in the 8 previous innings and then finally set the side down. Did you stiffen up in between innings or what?
No, I don't think that was the key. I think the key to that was that basically I just lost concentration. I think I was trying too hard, and consequently I was aiming the ball. And, you know, in order for me to be effective in the strike zone, I've just got to let it go and concentrate on Bob Melvin's target.
You mentioned Bob Melvin. What is the special relationship you have with him, Dave? What does he do to make you feel so comfortable?
Well, I think, Joe, you know, as a catcher, the bottom line is to be in sync with the pitcher. And every time I've gone out there with Bob Melvin and Bob Brenly, both guys on this ball club, been able to work in sync with them. I don't have to think very much. We're basically calling the same pitches as each pitch takes place, and I think that's the big key. When I want a slider on the outside part of the plate, and I'm thinking advanced of that, then Bob Melvin's calling the same thing. So just being able to work in sync, and I think that's been a big plus because it helps my momentum, creates a good rhythm, and then, you know, being able to stay in that rhythm helps me to be more effective.
Dave, we had a shot of you talking to Norm Sherry, and one of the things in scouting everything about this ball club, Norm told me that you really have to concentrate on keeping that arm of yours behind your left ear and throwing from the top. Was that pretty much what you were talking about?
Exactly. One thing that Norm has really helped me with is, as a catcher, you know, they're always told to throw from behind the ear, and basically for me that's the same type of theory that I have to use. Although I don't throw from back there, it helps me to get my arm up and my hand on top of the ball. Whenever I get flat, it's because the hand drops and my arm starts to spread out. So consequently, Norm was basically trying to just remind me that, you know, stay on top and just let it go, follow through. Throw through the catcher's glove and not to the catcher's glove.
Dave, there were 2 times in the game today where it appeared the Cardinals were starting to build some momentum, and each time you were able to shut them down. Let's go back to the 3rd inning. Tony Pena opens up with a walk. At the time, you're leading 2-0, and it looks like a bunt situation with Tudor. There was a lot going on with you and with Will Clark. At one time, Clark started to come to the plate, stopped, and then everybody came to the mound and had a meeting. Finally, on a pitch out, Pena was nailed, and that ruined any possible inning for the Cardinals. Can you tell us a little bit about what was going on in the 3rd inning?
Well, the key in that situation, Vince, is in that particular play with Will charging, obviously the object for me is to keep the runner on first base from moving towards second. I have to wait until he stops. If he doesn't stop, I've got to step off. Otherwise, I'm going to give him an opportunity to get a better jump. So in that situation, all I'm trying to do is focus on him and at the same time make a pitch at the plate. And it just happened to work out where Tony Pena got a little lazy there and then took off, and we were able to get him on the pitch out.
Now, in the fourth inning, the one rally, so to speak, that you had to contend with, you opened up by walking Ozzie Smith. Then Tommy Herr singled him, and now you had Pendleton, McGee, and Lindeman. The crowd was roaring. You had a 3-0 lead, but it was in trouble, actually 2-0 at the stage. You shut him down on fly balls. Tell us about pitching to Pendleton, McGee, and Lindeman under those circumstances.
We want to discuss today. The purpose of today's news briefing is to announce another in a series of indictments involving labor racketeering and corruption here in New Jersey. 2 weeks ago, some of you may remember,
but the Cards pitch out, and Jose Uribe is dead in his tracks. The Giants have the bases loaded with 2 out in the 8th when Uribe hits a ground ball that goes through the legs of Ozzie Smith. 2 runs score on the play. Dave Dravecky goes the distance, allowing just 2 hits as San Francisco silences St. Louis 5-0 to even the best of 7 National League Championship Series at a game apiece.
And the American League Final commences in Minnesota tonight. The Detroit Tigers, with the best record in baseball, are favored, but the Twins won 56 games on home turf this season and are looking for a quick start tonight.
Sparky Anderson doesn't want to sound overconfident, but he likes his club's chances against Minnesota.
Well, I know if I look at the record, they won 85 and we won 98. We're both playing the same league.
Minnesota boasts the best home record in the majors, 56-25. The Twins are hoping that could be a crucial factor if the series goes the full 7 games. But the Tigers were one of the few visiting teams to have a winning record at the Metrodome this year.
I know they have the best record in baseball, but I know the last series we played there, we took 2 out of 3, so that's going to be in our mind. And we're not taking them lightly. You know, anybody that gets to the playoffs has earned it, and you never know what can happen. It always seems like in a playoff or a World Series, somebody out of the blue comes up with a big series, and I'm sure that's going to happen. Somebody probably unexpected. Who knows who it's going to be, but that's usually how it works.
Immediately after the Tigers swept the Blue Jays on the weekend to clinch first place in the East, Jesse Barfield said he didn't know if he would watch the playoffs. But Lloyd Mosby expects to be among the millions of fans across North America who tune in tonight.
Again, there's no animosity toward this season or toward baseball after you lose it. If you tried your best, I think if you didn't try your best and you go home, then you probably get caught up into bitterness. But I think we tried our best, and again, I want to go and see who the best in the game is going to be.
In Game 1 tonight, former Blue Jay Doyle Alexander, who was 2-0 against Minnesota this season, opposes southpaw Frank Viola.
Stay tuned for the National League Championship Series next.
Wow, Sparky. Look at that. Baseball.
The tradition is here. The memories are waiting. Next.
Candlestick Park in San Francisco, the second oldest ballpark in the National League. It is a chilly and breezy day in the Bay Area. Temperature at 58 degrees. The wind 10 miles per hour blowing in toward home plate. As the National League Championship Series shifts to the west, the Cardinals and the Giants are even at 1 game apiece, and tonight it's Game 3 of the best of 7. Good evening, everyone. I'm Marv Albert. It is just past 5 p.m. Pacific Coast time. We welcome you to the start of our primetime coverage. In a little bit later on, it'll be Vince Scully and Joe Garagiola bringing you the play-by-play. The big news here tonight, the Cardinals hit with a severe blow. Yet another injury. Terry Pendleton, a key man in the lineup, will sit it out. A scratch because of a sprained ankle. And Tom Lawless will be the starter at third. His first start at third this year. He was only 2 for 25 at the plate during the course of the regular the season. For the Giants, it will be left-hander Atlee Hammaker. Record of 10-10, a remarkable comeback story. Hammaker sat out the entire '86 season because of a series of operations, but he is back, and he's back strong. And Hammaker has been very tough at Candlestick, winning 9 of 11 decisions. For the Cardinals, the rookie left-hander Joe Magrane, a decision that Whitey Herzog arrived at only late yesterday, what with the uncertainty concerning Danny Cox. Cox bothered by that stiff neck, but Cox will go tomorrow night, and the colorful Magrane gets the nod this evening. Magrane is a 23-year-old out of the University of Arizona, the son of a college professor. He's put together a solid rookie season, a record of 9-7, and he faces the Giants tonight. We talked earlier.
This is a big game, Marv, but I feel confident in knowing I've got the best defense in the league behind me, and I've got the high Candlestick grass, and if I can get my sinker over the plate and then make him hit the ball into the infield, my chances of winning are pretty good.
How difficult was it for you to prepare for tonight because of the uncertainty as to whether it would be you or Danny Cox?
Whitey Herzog told me before the start of the playoffs that I was going to throw the third game, and then Danny came up sick, and he was going to end up going the third game. So all I would have had to done was to put it on hold for one more day. So I'm ready to go today.
The real pressure on you may involve reaction to tonight's performance by your radio listening audience. Joe Magrane, it should be pointed out, is heard once a week on KSHE FM radio in St. Louis.
Well, it's gone pretty well for me. I hope I haven't offended too many people, but it's been a great opportunity for me, and I'm glad KSHE has given it to me.
All right, now you have been the most quotable player in baseball this season. Take a look at these quotes. Do you spend much time working on these?
No, I'm not a fiction writer or a satirist. I'm just pretty much a spontaneous person, and those things just seem to come out into the reality of an interview. Sometimes I don't take it too serious.
Are you bothered by people who have labeled you as a flake, and they say that, of course, with affection?
Well, if I was right-handed, I'd probably be the same way, and nobody would call me a flake. It's just that little those things that left-handers seem to do that you might want to call them flakes, and I really don't have any reservations about that at all, no.
Joe Magrane, the 6'5" rookie, although he says he had the St. Louis Cardinal media guide list him at 6'6" because it sounds better. It will be Magrane and Hammaker tonight. And this National League Championship Series pregame show is brought.
Candlestick, noted by some as the House of Horrors, not a favorite ballpark of the St. Louis Cardinals. Danny Cox made the statement that the grass here is high enough for grazing. You have factors such as the wind and the fog and the shadows. What role will all this play?
Well, I think it plays a big role. The first time you come to this ballpark, it's like myself. When I played, I used to come in here. The first day is really tough to get yourself adjusted. And I think every team has to make that adjustment. And the first day, the Giants are always favored because they have an advantage in that direction.
Things also seem to be getting a bit testy between these two clubs, particularly on the part of the Giants, who've been making strong statements. There's been some bench jockeying the other day when Ozzie Smith made the error. He really heard it from the Giant bench. In fact, Bob Brenly said, hey, he's too flashy. That's why he didn't make the catch. Jose Uribe would have made the play.
Well, Bob Brenly made the statement after the All-Star break that the Giants thought that Jose Uribe was the best shortstop in the National League. And really, Jose is similar to Ozzie Smith in that he doesn't have a real strong arm, but he's very accurate with it. He gets rid of the ball very quickly, and he's fundamentally sound. He doesn't do anything flashy. He just does the job.
How does Ozzie react to all this?
I think he's amused a little bit. Here's a guy that's won 5 or 6 Gold Gloves, and he's considered to be the greatest shortstop defensively to ever play the game. I don't think 1 or 2 days is going to disrupt anything.
And what about Jeffrey, don't call me Jeff Leonard, not exactly out of the Dale Carnegie school, and he has been aggravating fans in St. Louis. Hit the home run the other day. He was taunting the fans at Busch Stadium. He's had some strong statements. For example, he said, hey, Greg Matthews showed me nothing in game number 1.
Well, that's Jeff. To understand Jeff...
Or Jeffrey, please.
Jeffrey, yeah. Well, he wants to be called Jeffrey. Right now, he's Jeff. He's into his Jeff mold. He changes. See, Jeffrey can be a nice guy. Jeff is the guy that's an intimidator. He's the leader of the Giants as far as intimidation goes. Jeffrey will hit home runs, trot around the bases very slowly, point fingers. He's done all these things, but I think he does it for a reason. He tries to intimidate the opposition, and he does a good job at it.
All right, this series has 2 of the highly regarded managers in baseball, Whitey Herzog and Roger Craig. And Craig, during the year, loves the pitch out, and he has been going through with that during the course of this series, and as the Cardinals actually have been held in check on the bases.
Right. Well, one of the things that Whitey Herzog said is that he pitched out 22 times during the season, didn't get anyone. He's pitched out twice in the playoffs and gotten both runners. So I have to say Roger Craig has done a good job. It only counts the last 2 times.
Can we see some over-managing, for example, in Game 2, the squeeze play with Uribe that was blown. Now, that's one that I think Roger might want to have back.
Well, I think so, too. Roger believes in the squeeze. He's tried it a lot of times. He's been unsuccessful a lot of times during the season, but he's also been successful doing it. So I think he'll continue to do it, even though some people may call it overmanaging. I think it's just the way Roger Craig manages.
20 seconds or less, the 5:30 start. What effect does that have?
I think it has a big effect. I think it's really an advantage for both pitchers because at 5:30, the shadows are there, the sun is out there, and it's really great for the pitchers because they don't know what's coming. You can't read the fastball. You can't read the breaking ball. You can't see the stitching on the ball, so it makes it a lot tougher.
Okay, and when we return, we'll be back with one of Wednesday's Giant heroes. They call him the Natural, Will Clark.
High, towering drive to right field. Back goes Oquendo on the track, at the wall, gone.
This is the Trane XL90, loaded with fuel-saving features like electronic ignition and dual heat exchangers. This high-performance furnace.
The starting lineups and the decibel level will jump some with the announcement of second-year first baseman Will Clark. It's almost as if life were imitating art. With that picture-perfect swing, Will Clark has become known around the league as the Natural. He is the Giants' power man with 35 home runs and 91 RBIs, and you know, Will, there is a striking resemblance to Robert Redford. Anyone mentioned that before?
Well, some of the fans around here call me a Natural, but that's where the comparison stopped about right there.
Yeah, they haven't mentioned that you and Redford have a lot of similarities, then, is what you're saying.
No, not really. Matter of fact, he's got a little bit more hair than I do.
All right, in Game 2 in St. Louis on Wednesday, there was almost chaos on the base paths. You hit the home run. Candy Maldonado was on first. Would you describe what happened?
Well, what happened was I hit the ball and I was coming around first base and I looked down and touched the bag. Well, I looked up and Candy was on his way back to first base tagging up. And fortunately, the ball went out and I was able to stop in time and we avoided passing one another.
Almost out of the pages of the old Brooklyn Dodgers and Babe Herman. Joe Morgan was mentioning a couple of minutes ago that the Giants have been a very cocky team. A lot of strong statements concerning the St. Louis Cardinals. Do you think this can backfire?
I don't really think it was cocky as much as it is confidence. I think the team is loose right now. We're ready to play, and we're giving off the air of confidence that winners do. So we're looking forward to today and playing these 3 ball games here in our home ballpark.
So there's nothing going on between you two guys?
I really don't think so. I think, we have a lot of respect for the Cardinals, but at the same time, we're very confident in our own abilities.
All right, who was it that gave you the nickname Will the Thrill?
Bob Brenly. Bob Brenly did it in spring training, and matter of fact, it sort of stuck. The fans picked up on it, and the fans call me Thrill now.
Is it the Thrill or is it the Natural?
Pretty much the Thrill has stuck more than the Natural.
So it's Will the Thrill Clark and his Giants facing the St. Louis Cardinals in Game 3. Joe McGrain going against Atlee Hammaker. We're set for the introduction of the lineups. Here's Giants public address announcer Jeffrey Bonds.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Game 3 of the 1987 National League Championship Series. Let's meet the 1987 National League East Division champion, St. Louis Cardinals. In his 8th season with the Cardinals and managing in his 3rd National League Championship Series, Whitey Herzog. The first major leaguer to steal 100 bases in each of his first 3 seasons. Leading off and playing left field, number 29, Vince Coleman. An 8-time Gold Glove winner who finished among league leaders in average doubles, runs, stolen bases, and walks. Batting second, the shortstop, number 1, Ozzie Smith. He drove in 83 runs and ranked second on the club with 14 game-winning RBIs. Playing second base and batting third, number 28, Tom Hurd. He is the only Cardinal to hit 2 home runs in a game this season. Batting fourth and playing first base, number 15, Jim Lindemann. He holds 3 league championship records, and his 105 RBIs were club records for center fielders. Batting fifth, number 51, Willie McGee. A
four-time All-Star who is playing in his first league championship series. Batting sixth and catching, number 26, Tony Pena. He played at every position except for catcher during the past season. Playing right field tonight and batting seventh, number 11, Jose Oquendo. A veteran member of the Cardinals who played 3 different positions for St. Louis this year. Playing third base tonight and batting eighth, number 12, Tom Lawless. A rookie left-hander who led the Cardinals in shutouts and complete games. Warming up in the left field bullpen, tonight's starting pitcher for St. Louis and batting ninth, number 41, Joe McGrane. And now, the coaches, trainers, equipment manager, and members of your 1987 National League Western Division champion San Francisco Giants. He's only the 4th manager since the turn of the century to take a team from 100 losses to the playoffs in 2 years. Number 38, Roger Craig. His .426 average during the regular season led the Giants against the Cardinals. Leading off and playing second base, number 6, Robbie Thompson. After joining the Giants, he hit .306 with a career-high 22 homers, batting second and playing third base, number 9, Kevin Mitchell. He has homered in each of the first 2 games of the 1987 Championship Series, playing left field and batting third. 0-0, Jeffrey Leonard. He drove in 37 runs and hit 8 homers in 47 games after coming back from an injury. Batting fourth and playing right field, number 21, Candy Maldonado. He holds the National League career record for homering from both sides of the plate 3 times in his career, including twice this season, playing center field and batting fifth, number 30, Chili Davis. His 2-run homer was the game winner in Game 2 of the series. Batting sixth and playing first base, number 22, Will Clark. He reached double figures in home runs for the 4th straight season, batting 7th and catching, number 15, Bob Brindley. He's hitting .375 in the championship series after finishing the regular season with a career-high .294 average. Shortstop and the 8th hitter, number 23, Jose Uribe. After missing all of 1986, he came back to finish 10th in the league with a 3.58 ERA. Warmed up in the Giants bullpen, tonight's starting pitcher for San Francisco, number 14, Atlee Hammaker. Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention to center field. Presenting the colors for tonight's game, the San Francisco Police Department Mounted Color Guard. Ladies and gentlemen, may we ask that you please rise at this time to honor America with their national anthem. Please welcome these internationally renowned artists who've made themselves famous with their hits Heart of Rock and Roll, Power of Love, and Hip to Be Square, the Bay Area's own Huey Lewis and the News.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets fell down from the singing air, came through the night, that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
So, Game 3 of this National League Championship Series is moments away. I'm Marv Albert, Vince Scully, and Joe Garagiola. We'll bring you the play-by-play, but first, this NBC News Digest.
This is NBC News Digest. Here is Tom Brokaw, NBC News.
Good evening. Battle lines are being drawn in the Senate again tonight after Judge Robert Bork's decision to remain as Supreme Court nominee.